Welcome back, Levelin Up Nation. This is your host, Brigham Blackham. I'm your success story strategist, and today we are going to have an amazing time talking to my new friend, Marc Mawhinney.
What I do with my business, it's very much focused on the business side of things, getting clients through the door, more so than the art and craft of coaching, which coaches get through certifications, schools, and elsewhere. But that's what I'm very passionate about, is getting them paying clients, not peanuts or doing free.
Welcome back, Levelin Up Nation. This is your host, Brigham Blackham. I'm your success story strategist, and today we are going to have an amazing time talking to my new friend, Marc Mawhinney. He is an amazing podcast host and an amazing coach. He's done over 900 episodes on his podcast, and one of the things that's so amazing about this is he's not just creating content. He's able to take some of those ideas and create massive results for his listeners. So really excited to have him on today. And he's an amazing coach. He's been on the top charts of podcasting for quite a while now. So we're going to hear some secrets. And today we're talking about clear-cut coaching. Now, all of you, there are so many different ways we can monetize our message. He's got a few really cutting-edge strategies, but also some things that he's done for years that will absolutely shift the way that you interact with your email list, how you monetize your expertise as a coach organically, and then also some of the things that make you stand out in the crowd. So make sure that you check this out. It's going to be phenomenal. And we're going to go right over here and welcome him. Welcome to the call. How you doing, Marc?
Hey, Brigham. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about your coaching process. One of the ways that you got into this, I'd love to hear your backstory.
It's always tough to condense a lot of years into a 30-second type thing. Actually, this week I celebrated my 11 years in coaching, which has flown by.
Wow, that's awesome.
To make a really long story short, my background is real estate. I did that for over a decade right out of university and built up a big real estate business here in Canada. Everything was going great until it wasn't going great, and everything imploded. And that's actually how I found out about coaching, because I had a couple of years, I say, in the wilderness there trying to decide, hey, what do I want to do next? And I didn't know much. I knew kind of what coaches did, but not really, because I hadn't experienced it. And I hired several coaches and got a front row seat for it. So when I was ready to get back into business, I was like, this would be a great thing. I'd love to get into coaching. And that was 2014. And my whole business since then, I've stuck to. It's really helping other coaches get business organically. No, you could use paid to add fuel to the fire with what I teach, but you don't have to. So it's all completely free. Roll up your sleeves. You got to do the work. But yeah, that's my business in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Well, let's start out with this. I know that with clear-cut coaching, you talk about like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm not adding the fluff. What are those things that make a great coach able to monetize their coaching practice? Because some people, they just do all this work organically, and they never get paid for it, or they don't get paid what they're worth. What have you been able to do to help people actually get paid what they're worth?
The frustrating thing with the coaching world is if you had two coaches, let's say Coach A is an absolutely incredible coach, can knock the socks off anyone, amazing results, best in the world, but they're a crappy marketer, not good at sales, versus Coach B, who's an average coach, mediocre, but brilliant marketer, awesome at sales. If I had to put my money on one of the two, perfect world, it would be Coach A. Unfortunately, it's going to be Coach B, because Coach A is not going to get clients through the door to actually display their skill. And if you don't have clients, you don't have a business. So what I do with my business, it's very much focused on the business side of things, getting clients through the door, more so than the art and craft of coaching, which coaches get through certifications, schools, and elsewhere. But that's what I'm very passionate about, is getting them paying clients, not peanuts or doing free coaching or bartering or anything like that. I'm very much a fan, especially for coaches who are in the early stages, of going with higher higher fees, and then, say one-on-one where you're charging a good amount, and then you have a group or one-to-many program or whatever, but you're going down instead of the ascension model, which a lot of people teach. Well, get a $27 program, something to get them through the door. Then you get a $99 program and a $500 course, and eventually they're going to start paying you thousands of dollars. That could be a tough road to navigate. So I always say you can add those things down the road, but you need revenue first and a good amount of revenue. So I prefer to start higher, and then you can work your way down.
That's a great tip, because if you only have, let's say, 5 or 10 clients at a couple $1,000, you're going to still be okay. But if you have 1,000 clients and all they're paying is, $20, you're like, oh,
yeah. And I know people will disagree with me. There's those who teach that you give a whole bunch of free coaching sessions, 2-hour type ones you're just throwing it all into there, and they're going to be so impressed that they'll eventually hire you or refer their friends to you and so on. And I've had a lot of coaches come to me that are burnt out by that. They've done hundreds of these type calls and to quote create clients, and it's just not working for them. So I'm very much if you told me if you were a brand new coach, Brigham, you're like, I absolutely need to make starting out $5,000 a month. It's much easier to get 2 clients at 2,500 or 1 client at 5,000 as opposed to trying to get 100 clients at a small amount. It's just going to burn yourself out that way.
And that makes it a lot simpler to see your goal and say, well, if I need $10,000 a month, how many of these $2,500 people do I need? I just need 4. I can do that. That makes it a lot more manageable as far as your fulfillment as well, because part of the thing with coaching is you also are doing fulfillment on every single one of those coaching practices that you sell. So you want to make sure that you get out there and you can fulfill at the very highest level, so that you're getting the good reviews and the testimonials. So one of the other things I want to bring up, I think this is extremely impressive. And guys, hear this. This is awesome. In your email list, one of the things you've done is you've had 3,000 days consecutively that you have sent an email and had a touch point.
Right.
This, I think, is the superpower of what you do. So tell us how you came up with this idea of being so consistent. And then what are some of the results that have happened because of your consistency and value add through emails?
So it was April 2016, and I remember this very clearly. I had been doing emails for 2 years, like everyone else or most people, where you send out an email once a week, maybe every 2 weeks, and they're boring as heck. They put people to sleep because, of course, you can't risk offending anyone. Heaven forbid you lose a subscriber. And I was ready to give up my email whole thing. I said, I'll focus on the podcast, social media, the stuff that's working. And I had a guest on my podcast who is a big proponent of daily emails. And I was griping to him after our episode about it. And he said, why don't you give it a try just for 30 days of daily emails? And I'm thinking, well, I guess it doesn't hurt. I might as well. It's going to be a little bit of work, obviously, for 30 days. But yeah, I'll give it a good college try. And if it doesn't work, I'll just continue on and kill off my email platform. And I can't say that I made millions of dollars in that month, but I started to see encouraging signs. For example, replies to emails I was sending out to my list. And I started to get some sales trickling in as well. And I thought, wow, maybe there's something to it. That was April 2016. And like you said, it's actually now, I think, 3,300-ish days where I haven't missed a day. That includes days. My father passed away 2 years ago. And that was the awkward thing. Oh, gee, I don't really want to send an email out to my list and be like pushing something, an offer that I'm selling or whatever when my father passed away, which was somewhat unexpected. But what I did in that day was I unscheduled the email that was set to go out. And I just basically spoke from the heart. Hey, guys, here's what's going on. My father passed away today. I'm not in a great headspace, obviously. All I want to say is if you could want to do something to help me out, reach out to a loved one today. Maybe it's a parent, it's a sibling, it's a friend you haven't talked to in a while. And just have a conversation with them or go meet with them. And the interesting thing is that a number of subscribers replying back with condolences, but also thank you so much. I haven't talked to my parents in the last 2 weeks, and I ended up calling them and we chatted for an hour or whatever. So that's a cool thing. When you email daily, you build up a very unique relationship, a stronger bond with your list, as opposed if they only hear from you once in a while. And then you're just, now don't get me wrong, I do have a call to action in all of my emails, except that one. I guess there was a call to action. I asked them to reach out to their loved ones. But I'm not a fan of just nurture, and you never sell. But if people, I had someone describe it to me before. They said, don't treat your email list like a booty call where they hear where a guy texts a girl at Sunday at 2 a.m. or something like, hey, are you up? You don't want to do that with your email list.
Don't treat, that's such a funny line, is don't treat your email list like a booty call.
I can't take credit for it. I forget where I heard it, but somebody said that. It wasn't me, but it's a good way to look at email marketing. Yeah. So mine's emails are very simple. I always tell it could be a lesson, an aha, something that I want people to know. And then I transition into a very just clean call to action. I tell them what I think I want them to hear. And then, oh, by the way, I have this XYZ program that I'm just launching. Here's what's doing. If you're interested, here's a link. Or I go over this in module 4 of my ABC program, link, something like that.
I think that's really great because you're not trying to pack in a full week or 2 weeks or even a month's worth of content into one email. That's one of the things I've noticed. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm doing these emails, they get so dense. But if you're doing daily things, you're like, this is the one point that I want to make. Here's the one story I had. Here's one testimonial. Here's one thing that can add value.
Well, there's another point. I'm glad you mentioned that. So I'm on a number of my clients' email lists to support them and keep up to date, see what they're talking about. And I have one client in particular that writes really, really amazing emails. She's good at what she does. She sends it out every Sunday. But she packs so much in there, and I'm trying to get her to look at it differently and say, instead of putting so much into one email, why not split that up into 7 days through the week? The problem with one email, people busy, they miss that email, gone. They're not going to see that gold. If you have 7 touch points through the week, but then also you could do one step better, which I do is I repackage my emails and they go all over social media as well. So one email might go 10 different places. There's a much better chance that Brigham sees my emails, if not through email, through social media or whatever, as opposed to if I just sent one big email out on a Sunday and they're getting ice cream with the kids and they missed that email or they had a busy day and bang, they don't see it.
Oh, that's a great point. Because this is really the most valuable asset that you have as a coach is your relationships with the people that you've already coached and the people that have opted into your email list.
Right.
So I'm curious, one of the people that I like to follow, his name's Ed CJ Smith. He has a very different approach to coaching. He says you need one ad that books them to a call and you give them a single, basically a high value gift or a MIFGI if you're using Russell Brunson's verbology. And then from that booked call, then you sell them into one simple package. So it's this one thing. What is your approach on this where you're doing it organically? Because that paid advertising, I think, if you have too many offers, a lot of times people, they get lost. Right. But organically, they will start to build connection with you. So what is your approach as far as how many things you're offering and how you keep them top of mind for you?
So I don't switch my offers every day with my email where today I'm doing offer A, tomorrow offer B, then offer C, then I go back to offer A. For me, I like giving a runway. Usually, now it could change a little bit at times, but I usually am promoting something for a week. So the month is split into roughly 4 weekly type promotions. I just launched a new program actually this month, and I took 2 weeks when I first announced it to give a longer runway. But I do things like joint ventures with partners. I always give them a week, and then I'm promoting them heavily for that week. I have actually, this isn't super high tech. That's my promo calendar, and it's always right by my desk because I can look in and see, okay, what am I promoting this week? Every day in there has a little acronym underneath it. So for example, as we're recording this, I just have been promoting my Natural Born Coach program. So I have NBCP through that whole week. So I'm always staying a couple weeks ahead. I like to batch create. You don't want to sit down at your computer, your laptop in the morning and you're like, oh man, I need to get an email out to my list in the next 15 minutes. What am I going to write about? Ideally, I'm a month ahead. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, but it's never 2 days. That's putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And so batching, I'm a huge fan of. Same thing with podcasting. I'm sure you do it too with your shows. Brigham, I might have 5 or 6 weeks worth of podcasts, quote, in the can that are ready to go. I'm amazed at how many podcasters wait until the day before. And I know this because I have a brother who's a podcast editor. He has a production company, and his clients are great, but sometimes we're set to hang out on a Sunday, and he's like, oh, geez, I can't hang out because someone didn't get me their show for tomorrow until today, and I got to take care of this. And I'm like, that's a really rough way to run your business. So yeah, batch.
Yeah, I think batching's awesome. Sometimes I'll go and get 2 to 3 in one day. I the most I've ever done in one day is 4, but
yeah,
it's a lot of coordination to try and fit them all in a time frame that works for everybody. But
well, and full disclosure, you and I saw it today. Like I mentioned, I have 10 calls, including this one today. You're coming on to my show. We're recording an interview swap.
Yeah. And
I asked you, was it yesterday? Like, hey, Brigham, anyway, we can move our call 15 minutes earlier just to give enough time where I have a hard stop at a certain time. And yeah, you feel like a air traffic controller sometimes. You're directing all the planes to make sure they don't bash into each other. So yeah, but it's fun.
Oh, I think it's amazing. And one of the things I love about podcasting, what I'm sure you can attest to this, is you see different people's processes and they start to impact how you do things. So batching was something I learned about 6, 7, 8 months ago. And it's changed the way that I approach my podcast. I used to only do 1 a week. And now I still do 1 a week, but I record 2 typically. And I just put them in the can. And that's something that it takes a little bit of pressure off. And it's something that you don't have to worry about. For like, oh man, I'm not feeling super great this week, but I still got the podcast in. You can say, well, we're going to schedule this one, and it just works.
The other reason batching is good is, let's say, for example, you block off your calendar and you say, you know what, Friday afternoon from 1 to 4, I'm going to write emails to my list and schedule them in. And that's all you do. Your phone's off. You don't have social media open. You're not doing anything else. You're going to find that you're creating those, in this case, emails, you're writing them much quicker. Studies show that if you divert your attention to something else, answering a message or a text, whatever, I think it takes 21 minutes to get back into flow when you switch back to the original task. And that's a problem, not just coaches, I think humans in general do, is they've got 4 different things they're trying to do at once, and they're going just all over the place. And they think they're being productive by multitasking and bouncing around, but in reality, they're not being productive. So when you batch, you have to make sure that you're sticking to it. You're not letting anything else invade that time. But I'll sit down in the afternoon, I'll write a week or 2 weeks of emails in a couple hours, and then feel so much better getting that off my plate. And it doesn't mean that you can't change things. So with emails, I schedule them out. I mentioned a couple weeks ahead. If something happens, a current event I want to talk about tomorrow, that's fine. I can unschedule the one that was supposed to be tomorrow, and we'll use it a different day. If there's, for example, World War III breaks out or a zombie apocalypse and I want to talk about it tomorrow, that's fine. I could do it. But for the most part, my emails are very evergreen. I look at my business in the last 11 years. The coaching world, there's been changes, obviously, but the principles really have stayed the same since then. So my stuff is evergreen in a lot of ways.
I think that's a great approach. That's one of the reasons why I feel like podcasting is so valuable. Is rarely, if ever, is it only relevant today. You're going to be talking about principles, talking about ideas that can help people, whether they found this episode, today, next week, or in 3 or 4 years. There's a lot of relevant information if you focus on how am I providing value in a principle rather than just here's the tactic. Because sometimes tactics shift depending on the platform.
Well, I feel bad. I shouldn't say feel bad, but AI, people who that's their niche is AI. I'm like, that would be tough to do this approach because AI is changing every couple of days. There's something going on. If you're in something that's trying to think, if you're in a sports niche where you're commenting on the NBA or Major League Baseball, or you're a political pundit, it's different because things are shifting so quickly, especially nowadays. But for what we're doing with business, the principles are timely and it makes it easier for creating content.
I think that's very true. You can still throw in some, timely things, but if you're going to create evergreen content, you have to think, what's the truth here? What's the principle? And then find that way to bring it in. So one of the things I love to ask coaches and people that are monetizing their message, or what are some of the frameworks that you found most valuable to be able to help your clients get results?
So for me, my clients, again, are only coaches. Anyone who comes into my world that's not a coach, I can refer them off somewhere. Oh, hey, I know a great coach for you, but that's all I work with. I'm really big on, I call it the 3 pillars strategy. So the challenge in 2025 is there's so many things you could be doing. And every expert is, oh, you got to be doing this. You have to be doing that. You have to be doing that. You only have 24 hours in the day and you have to sleep and do other stuff. So with the 3 pillars, what it means is you're identifying 3 main places that you're reaching your ideal clients. Now you have to obviously have a clear offer and that stuff worked out, but you're sticking to those 3 pillars. So for example, mine are podcasting. So that's my show, Natural Born Coaches, but also going out on shows like we're doing right now with yours. It's community. So the Coaching Jungle is my Facebook group. We've got almost 30,000 coaches in there now. And that's where my community is. But if your people aren't on Facebook, you can build a community wherever they're at or however. And then my 3rd pillar is email marketing, like we talked about, is specifically daily emails. So if I'm doing podcasting, the community stuff, and emails, I know I'm in pretty good shape. It doesn't mean I don't do other things. Yes, I post on LinkedIn every day and I do a bit on YouTube or whatever, but 90% of my energy is focused on those 3 pillars. So the benefit of that is you're not trying to do 125 different things, and it's very tough to get things rolling. But also you get very defensive of your pillars. So when I have people reaching out to me saying I have to do something, it would have to be something that's amazing for it to replace one of those pillars or to take time away from them. For example, do you remember when Clubhouse was a big thing about 4 years ago?
I did.
Yeah, rest in peace. I think it's dead or it's on life support. I feel bad because I know coaches who invested their whole days in there, and now it's gone for the most part. But people are telling me, oh, you have to be in Clubhouse, Mark. You have to be in Clubhouse. And I wasn't feeling it just from what I heard with it. I'm like, I don't know. A coaching friend of mine gave me an invite because it was back when you had to get the invites and only iPhone users could use it at a time. Android couldn't. And I said, I'll check it out just to see. And my suspicions were confirmed. I'm like, yeah, I don't enjoy this. So I only went on once. I said, I won't be going back on. And the same thing goes for any number of hot things today that's popping up. You want to be very careful to protect your 3 pillars.
I think that's brilliant. So having 3 pillars, and they can be different for each person, but I think that email is something that any one of us can do. Like every single time you have someone that comes into your ecosystem, you give them something of value, collect their contact info. This was something that I got from my friend Bernard Kissenbing. He talked about the importance of serving, not just selling. And if you're going to serve people, you want to make sure you take care of that as a relationship, not just a transaction. Transformational relationships take time. They're not a one-time thing. But one of the things I think you could really add a lot of value on in this is what are some of the ways you've been able to take your relationships from the email and make them more and more impactful? What are some of those ways that you've been able to connect heart to heart with people or get in charity work or whatever that looks like for you to really build that relationship, not just a surface level one?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned relationships. I'm reading a book now, which I highly recommend, Rabbi Daniel Lapin's book, Thou Shalt Prosper. Amazing book for money mindset. And it comes from, if you're not religious, you're still going to enjoy it, even though he's a rabbi, Jewish, and he works in different things with that religion. But it's not a, quote, religious book. It's more about money mindset. And I believe it's the 2nd chapter, his 2nd commandment, because it's got kind of a 10 commandments thing, is all around building relationships. And he shares the Jewish people. That's why they've done so well. And they often do well in businesses. They are mindful of, it's not just a business transaction. They're attending bar mitzvahs and, happy and sad events, funerals, everything else. It's got a very community feel to it. And it's something I've really worked on, because what I was finding probably last year, you have all these connections. You have 5,000 Facebook friends and you've got your LinkedIn people and stuff. But often I think, oh, gee, I talked to, say, Brigham, for example. Oh, I just talked to Brigham a year ago. We Zoomed, or 2 years ago. And then I look and it's been 6 years. And I'm like, oh, man, like time flies. So what I've been doing is sending out, I call them hellos. And I have a book here in my desk. And every day making, my goal is 50 hellos a week. So if I'm doing 10 Monday to Friday, 10 a day, I usually end up going more. And what I've been doing is just meeting up with friends, past podcast guests, former joint venture partners on Zoom, not with the goal of, okay, I'm going to sell them. I want to sell them this. It's to catch up, see what's going on in their life. And I'm always leading with, hey, how can I help you? Is there anyone, a type of person you want to be connected with, anything like that? And that's been really, really rewarding for me. And yes, opportunities will come from that naturally. But you can't be going into it just take, because people can sense that. And so, yeah, I'm not a big fan of coffee chats. If I don't know someone, I get a lot of people reach out to me and it's kind of a hidden sales pitch or thinly veiled. Hey, I'd love to get together for a coffee chat, Mark. And I try to weed out quickly, like, hey, what's this about? I would rather someone reach out to me. Hey, Mark, you don't know me, but this is what I'm doing. I thought this could be a fit for us to do something together. Would you like to chat? But I have been filling up my calendar. I don't want to have Grant Cardone talks about white space being the devil in the times that I have for my calls. I don't want to have any gaps in there. I want to make sure that I'm connecting with people. So I would just say be more mindful of connect with people as real people, not as a little picture on social media or a logo. They're humans on the other side of the screen.
That's a great point. One of the things my friend George Bryant does, he's another great coach.
I know George. Yeah.
Oh, you know George? Yeah, he's awesome.
He was on my show a few months back. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, he's been on my show, I think, two, 3 times.
He's a perfect example of a heart-centered, very sincere person. Sorry.
Super sincere. Oh, you're good. You're good. One of the things he does that I really like, and I've emulated, not perfectly, but I think he does a great job, is instead of just like sending a text or something, he'll actually record a video tailored to them to do a really quick touch point hello. I think that's something that anybody can do. It doesn't take a whole lot of extra time. It's probably about the same amount of time as literally thumbing a text, but you're recording it and it's more personal. They can hear your inflections. So I think that's a great tip for coaches to reconnect with people. But I love the idea of just giving a call, having 10 little hellos a week. I think that's, or not 50 a week.
Yeah, 50 a week. Yeah. I mean, 10 is better than 0. If you're not doing any now, 10 a week is great. I'm not a fan of, if you're trying to do 1,000 a week, you're not going to be able to connect with people. You'll burn yourself out, and that's not the way to do it. I found 50 is a nice number. It's manageable. Sometimes last week I did 72 or something. I went over. I don't usually do 300 a week in there, but yeah, I find 50 is a good number for me.
That's beautiful. One of the things I'm curious, because you've probably seen this for over a decade, what are the metrics that are the most important things to track, those key performance indicators for coach, to make coaches make sure, oh, I'm making money, I'm making sales, I'm making contacts. What are those things that you track, and why do you track them?
Well, it's not me being sarcastic. The biggest metric's money, which you talked about. And Bob Berg, who wrote the book, co-authored the book, The Go-Giver. He also wrote Endless Referrals and a bunch of them. He's been on my show twice, but he was first on back, I think, in 2015. And he said something that stuck with me through the years. I still talk about it often. He said, money is an echo of value. What he means is if you put enough value out into the world, it's going to be reflected in your wallet or in your bank account. So the question for me is, okay, how can I give as much value as possible? With my emails, my content and stuff, as I mentioned, there is a call to action in there, because I'm not hiding the, hey, I'm in business. Right. I need to make money to stay in business. But I always I ask myself, say for my email list, am I giving something in here that's rewarding them, even if it takes them 30 seconds to read it or a minute? Everyone's busy. That minute's important. Am I giving them enough value in that minute that it's going to be worth it for them? It doesn't mean that I'm teaching. You don't want to use your emails to educate and dump a bunch of stuff on them. But like I mentioned before, give them an aha, something to think about. So my email to my list yesterday, speaking of Rabbi Daniel Lapin, was all about Hollywood and how the subject line, what did I use? Hollywood is killing your chances of success. So there's a tip, because that's an interesting subject line. Someone reads that, it's like, oh, gee, how's Hollywood killing my chance of success? I then talked about how in Hollywood, if you start to look at the villains for a lot of the movies, Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire, and the Green Goblin was Norman Osborn, the greedy, evil entrepreneur, businessman. And then you start to notice that Hollywood, for movies and their TV projects, usually the villain is usually it's a rich man, but it's a rich person. It's the greedy capitalist who wants to take over small town USA to turn it into a toxic waste dump or something like that. So Daniel Lapin in his book, and I quoted it in that email yesterday, was talking about pre-1965. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was 3-1 in movies and TV, 3 times the number of portrayals of business men, usually in that case, were positive versus negative. And then it flipped. And nowadays it's, I don't know what it would be. 90% would be negative, maybe even more, maybe 95%, which you may think, oh, well, it's just a movie. Most people know that's make believe. But if you're being bombarded with that every single day, that's dangerous. It's going to hurt your thinking. And if you're in business, and then in the back of your mind, what's going to bubble to the surface is, oh, I don't want to be a greedy business person like that guy, so I better not make money, so I'm not lumped in with them. And that's what my email was about yesterday. I think that's worth 30 seconds of someone's time, because now their radar's up when they're consuming movies, pop culture. They're watching out for that. And so there's just an example that happened yesterday.
Beautiful. Well, in the last few moments we have together, I wanted to ask you this question. This is one of my favorite questions to ask someone. What is something that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you on the podcast? Something like, oh, this is my heart song, whatever it is. What comes top of mind for you?
Boys, you should have asked for my PayPal link, and then I could have given it and people could send me money.
Oh, there you go.
No. I mean, this isn't a super original question, but I do think it's an important one that if I could go back in time, what would I change when I started out in 2014? And I don't want to say I've had it all figured. I'm still figuring stuff out. I hope that I'm always figuring things out, because you never want to feel like you know everything. One thing that I have learned over the years, and I wish I could tell Mark back then, would be to care less, especially online, care less about what people are saying or commenting. And that's the thing that a lot of online entrepreneurs struggle with. Is in the old days, if you're running a widget shop on Main Street, USA, sure, some people might gripe about you at the dinner table or to their spouse or whatever, but you're not hearing it usually. With online business now, a couple clicks of the keyboard, you got some troll that's 1,000 miles away in his mom's basement that's trying to ruin your day by throwing something out there. And you really have to get past that, or it's going to be tough to grow, because you're going to be hiding in a shell. Not that I stuck with me for too long, but in the early days, they would affect me more often if I got a snarky email or comment on a social media post or whatever. So that's a challenge. A lot of entrepreneurs are like, oh yeah, I want to do 7 figures and I want to be number one in this niche and that. But then they get worked up if there's one nasty comment on a Facebook ad or on a post, and then they're in bed for the day. And it's what I'd say is it's going to be very difficult to be a multi-7 figure person who's all over the place if you get that worked up over one comment. So you're going to have to, and I know it sounds harsh, grow a thick skin. And that would be my piece of advice for old Mark, but also for anyone online today doing business.
That's beautiful. I think anytime we really are confident that we are giving value, if someone says, oh, that's not valuable, it doesn't affect us. It reminds me of a TikTok video I watched a couple months ago where this guy was literally handing out gold bars. And said, hey, who would like one of these? And they're like, I don't know about that. And they would pass. And he's like, doesn't hurt me at all. You not saying yes is me saving $500 or $1,000.
Yep.
It is so fascinating, because when we have something that we know is valuable, not think is valuable, we absolutely know is valuable, that will change somebody's life, that's just as valuable as something like that. It's a gold bar. It's tangible, but our intangible ideas can still change your life in that same type of way, and maybe even way more than those little 5 or maybe $1,000 piece of gold. It will absolutely shift the way that you interact with people, because you know you're valuable rather than just think you're valuable.
Exactly.
So, Mark, how do people find you online? How can we make sure that people are connecting with you? Because I think you've got a wonderful mission. You've really built a wonderful community online. Tell them a little bit how they can find you.
I mean, the easiest spot, if you go to naturalborncoaches.com, that's the central hub. You can get on my email list there. I think, spoiler alert, you'll be getting daily emails.
Yeah.
The place is the coaching jungle. We always want to have great people in there. Don't necessarily have to be a coach. Maybe you're interested in coaching, or you have a service that helps coaches, and you can get there by going to thecoachingjungle.com.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to get those in the show notes as well. So thank you so much, Mark, for being on today. It's been a wonderful conversation. Really talked about some awesome practical tips for every single coach to monetize your message. If you're a speaker, guys, if you are someone that wants to take your expertise and make it something that will be valuable for other people, do one of the things that made sense for you today. Take action on that. Maybe you had an idea that you're like, you know what, this made me think of this. Take action. Level up your life every single day. My hope is that every single week as we're coming in, we're giving you value, that you take action on what you have and what opportunities are in front of you. Because it's not just what you have, it's who you are. You have to be before you can do, and you have to do before you can have. And it's the be plus do that allows you to have everything that you want. I want to make sure that, Mark, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, guys. Like and subscribe. If this was valuable to you, leave a review as well. That helps so much. And share this episode if this was something that a coach could benefit from, or another speaker. So have a great rest of your day, and God bless.